it says, I just didn't know what the heck was going on. And so I really took a deep dive in my faith, to be honest. I just went deep into, like, I believed in Jesus, but I never really, like, you know, when it says following Jesus is actually turning away from sin. And so there's no, what it talks about in the Bible, it's like there's no obedience. There's no faith without obedience. So it's like I had faith about, like, oh, I believe Jesus died on the cross for me, but I never really implemented it into my life. I never, like, was like, I'm going to be obedient.
So when did you decide to actually move within the guidelines, and how did you find yourself away from, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I'm going to drink or do drugs or sleep around or all these other distractions? How did you get out of that world? What was the turning point for you?
I think it was my perception of who Jesus really was, you know? I'd had really bad examples of Christians in my life who would say one thing and do another. So they were my direct example of who Jesus was.
That's why you didn't take it seriously.
I didn't take it as seriously.
I'm stronger. I am wiser. I'm better. Much better. No wall you won't kick down. Lie you won't tear down. Coming after me. No shadow you won't light up. Mountain you won't climb up. Coming after me. No wall you won't kick down. Lie you won't tear down. Coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up. Mountain you won't climb up. Coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down.
Today, we're going to be talking about how Justin Bieber, of all people, I've been watching him. He's been doing a lot of big things, but we're going to be talking about how Justin Bieber had an influence in Justin Petyton in actually getting closer and actually taking God seriously. Like, that's actually off the chain. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I just want everybody to know that be ready for that. And that's that.
That's that.
But you were so big on Justin. That's crazy. You were so big on Justin Bieber. But anyway, it's just a trip that he came around the way he did. And he faced such scrutiny. He was almost like the male version of Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, he got booed like for getting an award. Like,
wow.
And he still stood there and said, I want to thank Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know if that's strong. If that's not strong in other words, I would have walked off the stage mad. Like, alright, I still got my award.
Right. Okay, so you and Justin. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure I remember everything. So the bottom line is, he got you. It was after the encounter you had. Then he was a big influencer or an inspiration to you getting closer to God. And I remember it blew my mind when you told me that now the level you're on is like you can't compare it to anything. And you really do. I used to get on your head about music, because we used to listen to pretty much a lot of some of that crazy stuff, you know. And I used to be like, man, stop listening to that, because when you listen to that, you know,
because it's so easy to get sucked into.
And so,
because like, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds good, like the beat, the way they flow on the beat. But if you listen to it and you're constantly listening to it, like, you're gonna get put in a different place, and you have to.
You're gonna get put in a different place.
You have to be like, what's up, God? I saw you last night. I'll see you tonight too. And you keep doing it on the local thing. But if you wake up and you're like, what's up, God? Let's talk. Let's spend some time together. Not just, what's up? See you. There's a difference, and you're gonna have a difference in your personality in general. Because once you allow God in, he stays in until you push him away. And when he stays in, people can see that. You glow different. You glow, like, you're just happy and you're healthy. Because there's just something about Jesus being in you. Like, literally, when you invite Jesus in you, you're inviting him in you. So imagine the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the star, the great I am, the living inside of you. living in your mind, which is living. Of course, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
blow.
Mhm.
What do you expect? You know?
Wow.
So that's the way I look at it. It's just like, as long as I have God in my life, I'm gonna be growing for the rest, as long as I live.
We used to talk like about God a lot, like I'm just having a hard time understanding how you got here to this point.
Me neither.
But you know what it's called? It's called the power of God. But you said you got to a low point. Tell me about your low point.
For me, it was a low point just because it was like I was close to God, and then I stopped because I just got sucked into everything that was so worldly and mainstream, and then I just forgot about
What's worldly mainstream?
trap music and just parties and all that stuff. And there's nothing where I was doing that thing where I was like, hey God, literally, I would just be like, good morning or something, just to at least make it seem like I was talking to him and be like, God, I still pray to you every morning. Don't trip. But he knew that wasn't the
Look,
case.
I'm still giving you something,
Yeah,
God.
I'm
Like,
still-
yo.
Like, hey, I'm still acknowledging you, but God's just like, I think all I want is an acknowledgement. Including your heart. I had no influence. I had no voice from God all throughout last year in 2019. I was going off of my own conscious, my own thoughts, what people were saying to me, but I had no angels in my corner. I had no God anymore. But that was all because of me. And that's because I pushed him away and I decided I wanted to go full on trap culture and just completely neglect God. I decided throughout the days, like I would just be like, I don't really want to pray. And then
So for the people listening, Justin had an encounter which is like a defining one-on-one moment with God, with Christ, and like everything came like as real as it could ever be real, and we're talking tears, snot running, like, because we're not talking about a girl, a president, some sort of king, $1 million, $10 billion. No, we're talking about something that's leagues and layers past that, right?
I'm literally on a spiritual realm.
Wow. Could you just tell us about that moment?
Well, so I was at home by myself, and I was and this was at a point where I was kind of happy in my life because I kind of had God, but at the same time, I was still lost about a lot of things, and so I was just like, you know what, God, please tell me what is wrong, because I don't know what it is. I keep trying to find happiness, and I don't know what it is. And at that point, I was not listening to praise and worship music. I love God, but it wasn't involved in my life. So that explains a lot now that I think back about it. But I was asking him, I was like, man, gotta help. Because I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like I feel like I'm mad for no reason. I feel like I'm upset. And I feel like there's just so many negative things around me. And I don't know what to do.
Right.
And you're all like, God, you're
Right.
God. You can do anything. So if you can do anything, you gotta help me with this. Because this is ridiculous. I'm just mad for no reason. And I'm lashing out. And I'm not that happy. And 2 minutes later, I'm laying down in my bed. Just laying there, thinking, just waiting for something to hit. And I make my way, well actually no. So I'm laying there, and next thing I know, I'm singing. I'm singing, I'm singing You're a Good, Good Father. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. I'm singing that.
Perfect in all
Perfect
of
in
your
all your ways.
ways.
And the lyrics start to hit me a little bit different as I'm singing it. So I keep singing, You're a good, good father. And that line, for some reason, got to me. It was like, you're a good, good father. You are, because I knew he was listening to me in that moment. Because I truly called him, so I felt him come down. So when he came down, I was like, you really are a good, good father because you're still here, even though I neglected you all year.
Wow.
And in that moment, I was like, you're a good, good father. And I kept singing it. I got up, I started praising him, and then I dropped to my knees. And I'm crying. And I see just light. I just see light. And it's I feel, and as I'm crying, like I'm on the ground at this point. Like, I'm not scared of it. It's like I'm on the ground crying because I'm with God. And
Wow.
I'm really in his presence.
Wow.
And I feel angels
Wow.
like hugging me on the ground.
What?
Like, and I feel Jesus like next to me.
Whoa.
Just like with his arm around me, just like seeing me cry, just being like, I'm here, like, you know, I know you were gonna come back. I know you had to go through some bad stuff, but I've been here.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean,
Jeez, that's crazy. It's okay, man. Hey, I'm telling you, I have the same. I've had some of the same encounters. Maybe only a few. But dude, ugh. See, man, there's no. When you start talking about the power of God, there's no time for tough guys.
exactly.
No tough guys.
And there's nobody tougher than Jesus. When you talk about him, he's like, hey, you're gonna cry because I'm right here too, bro. Like, I'm just gonna let you know.
But think about it. If it's something on that level, how can we hold our peace? How can we be calm about the King of Kings?
Can't. I think you just.
Man, the Lord of Lords, the person who created you. How can we just be like, yeah, for real? How can we keep our swag and keep our little arms folded?
I think what it is like when we tap in like that. I think when we invite God in, I think when we're in a really broken place like that, we're so corrupt, and when he comes in, it's like he just explodes all this light into us, and we just can't handle it, so we just break down in tears and emotion, just thankfulness and all these.
Man, dude, that's really, man. Ooh. But God says in his word, I will not despise a broken spirit and a contrite heart. So he wants us broken. Broken. And the fact
He
that
wants us to come in like that.
the fact that you could be that transparent, man, is crazy. I'm trying to think if I could, I don't know, if people want to actually call in, or if people want to go on Transformed Unplugged, our channel on YouTube, or if they want to go on Transformed Barbershop on Instagram, Romans 12:2. If anyone wants to post how many people that are between 17 and 20 do they know actually not just say they love God, but they've had encounters with God, they've had like moments with Christ, they like literally have broke down and give God all the credit in the world because of he's the one that made them, and they just had this crazy encounter. I'm not just talking about going to church is not really technically an encounter. If you do have an encounter at church, then it's the one where, you know, where you're just maybe stuck in a fetal position under the pew. You know what I'm saying? That's an encounter. But just to be like, hey man, hey man.
That's not doing nothing.
No. I mean, it's doing
it's
something.
doing something, but like
But
it's
not an
intimate.
encounter like that. Yeah. So,
I think
dude,
encounters are really intimate. Like Moses, he had an encounter, but that wasn't around a bunch of people.
that's very true.
That was very secluded.
Very true. And speaking of the other, William McDowell, he's a singer. I hope I'm saying his name right, but he said he's a worship leader. You got to get into that boy. That dude's praise and worship is next galaxy. Okay, and I'm gonna send you some stuff right after this. Maybe we talk about it next time. But guess what? He was in college, and he had an apartment, and he was a worship leader way back then, and he had been asking God for an encounter, and he said that God came to his room, and he said that the experience was so next level, next world, that he didn't leave his room for 3 days. He like didn't get up. He didn't like go outside. He didn't care about eating. He didn't care about like jumping in showers and he's like, dude, he's like, God came to my apartment. He came to my apartment and like was like in my room, and he said that it was something that you just can't even imagine. And God spoke to him on a level.
In my room.
He said, dude, God was in my room. I didn't sleep. I didn't shave. He didn't do nothing. But that's just, dude. I'm listening to your encounter, and it's just still, it's absolutely amazing that God, the angels wrapping their arms, the comfort.
So much of that stress and burden just leaving in that one moment.
So you got to a point where you got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and snapping when there was no time to snap, and being angry, not being happy, and being irritated, and just being in a bad place, dark place at times. You got so tired of that you finally, so you had to call on God and say, look, Lord, Lord, help me to, like, what did you say again?
You gotta help me.
So you just cried out for help.
Yeah,
that's really
like that.
Wow. So that's really, I spoke on this recently, is a surrender is all God needs. So you gave God a surrender, like, look, or right, maybe not necessarily immediate surrender. The surrender probably came after, but what you did was you gave a cry to the Lord. Please help me, please. So you got to actually feel it in here. You got to actually want to have that moment. You got to want to have that encounter. So I want to tell our viewers, you have to want to have that encounter.
And God says, when you seek me, you'll find me. So if you seek Him and you say, God, I need you, and I'm seeking you. I'm looking for your help. I'm looking for your guidance. I'm looking for your protection. I'm looking for your wisdom. I'm looking for your leadership. I'm looking for your aid. I'm looking for your supply. I'm looking for, all that stuff. It's gonna come. It may not come within that second. It might. You don't know. It's
right.
God.
Right.
But if you ask and if you seek, He's gonna answer.
Right.
He's not gonna ignore His children.
Right.
It's about patience and obedience stuff.
Right.
And He'll know your heart. And if you're patient, and if you're obedient, He'll say you're ready for this. Now you're ready for this. Now you're ready for this. And that's just how the faith journey works. It's all about obedience. You can't go through life without being obedient and expect things to run smooth. And things still aren't going to run smooth if you're obedient, but you can't expect them to. You definitely can expect them to if you're not obedient.
And just to clarify, just a tiny bit, He says, you will find me when you seek me with all your heart. So you got to be all the way dialed in. You got to be all the way dialed in. But all you got to do is want to be dialed in, and He can pull you in.
Oh no.
You just have to want to be all the way in, because you can't do it in and of yourself. You can't be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. No. It's a supernatural thing. He's the one that does it. He's the one who does it. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this last thing. You did was you gave a cry to the Lord. Please help me, please. So you got to actually feel it in here. You got to actually want to have that moment. You got to want to have that encounter. So I want to tell our viewers, you have to want to have that encounter.
And God says, when you seek me, you'll find me. So if you seek Him and you say, God, I need you, and I'm seeking you. I'm looking for your help. I'm looking for your guidance. I'm looking for your protection. I'm looking for your wisdom. I'm looking for your leadership. I'm looking for your aid. I'm looking for your supply. I'm looking for, all that stuff. It's gonna come. It may not come within that second. It might. You don't know. It's
right.
God.
Right.
But if you ask and if you seek, He's gonna answer.
Right.
He's not gonna ignore His children.
Right.
It's about patience and obedience stuff.
Right.
And He'll know your heart. And if you're patient, and if you're obedient, He'll say you're ready for this. Now you're ready for this. Now you're ready for this. And that's just how the faith journey works. It's all about obedience. You can't go through life without being obedient and expect things to run smooth. And things still aren't going to run smooth if you're obedient, but you can't expect them to. You definitely can expect them to if you're not obedient.
And just to clarify, just a tiny bit, He says, you will find me when you seek me with all your heart. So you got to be all the way dialed in. You got to be all the way dialed in. But all you got to do is want to be dialed in, and He can pull you in.
Oh no.
You just have to want to be all the way in, because you can't do it in and of yourself. You can't be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. No. It's a supernatural thing. He's the one that does it. He's the one who does it. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this last thing. I'm like a preacher. This is my third close. Um, when I was trying to tell you before about the music, light and darkness, that's just Romans. That's what Romans 12:2 is all about. But light and darkness cannot exist in the same brain. So at the end of
Need you, and I'm seeking you. I'm looking for your help. I'm looking for your guidance. I'm looking for your protection. I'm looking for your wisdom. I'm looking for your leadership. I'm looking for your aid. I'm looking for your supply. I'm looking for, all that stuff. It's gonna come. It may not come within that second. It might. You don't know. It's
right,
God.
right,
But if you ask and if you seek, He's gonna answer.
right,
He's
right,
not gonna ignore His children.
right,
It's about patience and obedience stuff.
right.
And He'll know your heart. And if you're patient and if you're obedient, He'll say you're ready for this. Now you're ready for this. Now you're ready for this. And that's just how the thing works. It's all about obedience.
I want to tell our viewers, you have to want to have that encounter. That's what Romans 12:2 is all about. But light and darkness cannot exist in the same brain. So at the end of the day, okay, me personally, I'm gonna speak personally for myself, but then I'm gonna tie it to the scripture, so it's legit. You can't serve two masters. You love one and hate the other. That's how it has to be. God says, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out. Okay, you can't rock both sides. Light and darkness cannot exist in the same brain. So at the end of the day, okay, me personally, I'm gonna speak personally for myself, but then I'm gonna tie it to the scripture, so it's legit. You can't serve two masters. You love one and hate the other. That's how it has to be. God says, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out. Okay, you can't rock both sides. When I was in the world, if I heard any Christian music, it made me sick. You know what it did? I was a full developed gigantic balloon with water. And anytime I heard a song, worship song, Christian song, it was one hole poked in me. And it was like, oh man, it just hurt to hear gospel music because I was on the other side. I was on the other side, bro. And I'm not just on the other side, I'm getting it in on the other side. But then when I came to the other side of Christ, now guess what? When I heard that music, that I don't even have to name some of that stuff, even some of my old school rappers,
It's
Biggie,
right, huh?
Pac, all that stuff. Guess what, dude? It would make me sick. I would feel sick to my stomach because even though I used to love it, that music took me on a journey that I didn't want to go on.
Yeah, it does.
It took me to a place that I didn't want to be. And you know what I learned? People talk about me. People, you're gonna be fine. You can get a little of this, a little of that. You'll be fine. No, this ain't no smorgasbord. This is not a buffet where you go get a little of this and a little of that. You can just kind of mix it up however you want. You have a little sex on Tuesday, and go to church on Sunday, and then smoke weed on Monday. After that, have a fun day. No, that's not how we gonna do that. No, screw that. Okay? But at the end of the day, like you have to pick. That's why he said, choose ye this day whom you will serve. You know what I'm saying? And at Romans 12:2, what does Romans 12:2 say? Romans 12:2 is on the front of this door right here. And the front of the door simply states this: do not be conformed to the ways of this world, but be transformed. We see that behind me, transformed by the renewing of your mind, to prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. That's why it's tagged on the door. That's what it's all about. Don't be conformed of how people are doing things. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind to prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. That's what it says. Okay? So that means that we can be in the world if we are out mingling in the world, but we can't be of the world. So if we're in the world mingling, become all things to all men, the Bible mentions. But if we're in the world, and we're chilling, mingling with our friends and family and people like that, guess what? If we're going to mingle with the world, we have to stand out. You can't blend in fully because you're just like them. If you go in, you have to stand out.
Exactly.
So that's it. Bottom line is, because if I go in and I blend in, I'm just saying I'm doing the same thing they're doing. What's the difference?
Exactly.
They used to always say, what's the difference between me and you?
It's like you'll see the light from darkness.
Right.
It's different.
It's completely different. So, oh, you had sex with a girl last night. Oh, so did I. Oh, we went to the club. We took some girls home. Oh, we drank numerous shots of Hennessy. We got high. Like, if you do the same thing that everyone else does, you're no different than them. Period. Okay. So, bottom line is, I want to address one thing you said about balance. And I say, I just slightly disagree on the balance part. Because when you balance, that means that you can kind of be, as long as you don't listen to too much trap, it's cool. But no, because the two, light and darkness, can't exist in the same spot. And the two things contradict each other. So it's kind of like, if you want to get close to God, you got to go all the way in to get all the way in. That's how you can operate in your anointing. That's how you can operate in your purpose. That's how you can operate. The steps of the righteous man are ordered by God. That's how you can roll. You can roll. You'll be confident. You'll be filled with the Spirit, and you'll actually be able to get work done.